We're live, man. So here we go again. Another day, another dollar, ready to make a living. Um, I'm going to try and do these on topics. Uh, I seem to find one topic and we can fill 30 minutes of time with it. So I've been looking around and just digging into different things. And one of the things that's I've been really focused on over the last uh, I'm going to say at least 2 years, if not longer, is getting out from under the Amazon loan. Uh, I am not a huge fan of Dave Ramsey's. I really think the guy is very smart. I think he has a great program if you can follow it. Some of the things that I didn't like were how aggressive he got if you don't follow or disagree with him. Um, I do believe that you need to have a reduction in debt. And I also don't agree with Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know, that name just resonates with me. Robert's whole thing is extreme leverage. December 22nd has passed. Yeah, passed several times. I am down to, listen, with the loans, I'm going to get into it pretty deep, but right now, I have about 5 payments left. I think I can figure it out. It may be 6. Maybe 6 payments left. I'm really not quite sure, guys. Sorry. I'm not quite fully awake. I slept in this morning. Woke up at 3:30 and said, "What the hell am I doing out of bed?" Went back to bed, and before I knew it was 6:35. Unusual for me to do, but today I'm kind of busy going out in the side by side into the desert with some friends. Coming home, I'm gonna have to get cleaned up and showered, and then I'm gonna be doing some steaks on my smoker for other friends that are coming out for dinner tonight. Just a busy day. Um, so back to this loan thing. At my highest point, I was almost $500,000 into Amazon lending. I'm now down to, I believe, Tuesday, I will be under 100,000 owed to Amazon. I've learned an awful lot about money and lending and leverage and how things work over those last 2 years. But I want to go all the way back to the very beginning. I never owned this business fully 100% myself. Many of you know I was homeless when I started, so it was with a credit card. When it was guaranteed your approved credit cards is how I started this company. So I've always owed money on debt. There has always been debt with this company. At first, it was credit cards. After Lori and I got married, it was a pension loan. It was a struggle. And many of you may see this right now in your own reselling business. It is such a cash heavy business that you can't grow and take money out at the same time. If you want to grow, you either have to borrow money so that you can take profits out, but then the profits have to go to the payment, or you get you can get caught in a vicious cycle of borrowing, which I did, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, or you can't take money out. Growth comes from somewhere. So it costs money to grow. Right now, I do this reverse engineering. I want to do 3 million in sales, which means I need to do X number of sales per month, which means I need to do X number of sales per day. For me to reach that number of sales per day, I need to have this much inventory in stock. Um, I need to figure out how am I going to do, what's my sell through rate of my stock per day. If it's 4%, then I need to carry a bigger inventory to reach a bigger sales number. I didn't understand all that when I started the company. I just knew that by borrowing money, I was able to sell more. By selling more, I was able to pay the bills better and eat. But what happens is you get caught on a rat wheel, man. You just go nonstop. You never can get off. You never can stop. So what would happen was I started the company with a loan. I was making money. I took that money and I was eating, which was a good thing. Now I eat too much. Back then I couldn't afford to eat. Now I eat way too much food. I need to cut back, and I am going to start working on that as well. But to grow, I got a second credit card, and I used that. So now instead of making one credit card payment, I have two credit card payments. Eventually, it was now, listen, this went on for a while. Eventually, we took a loan against Lori's pension for the business. And a lot of that loan was to pay off the high interest rate credit cards. And we were fooling ourselves. We really didn't understand what we were doing. A lot of the pension loan we used to pay off high interest rate credit cards. Then came Amazon. Amazon, man, let me tell you, I wish I would have gotten in bed with loan sharks. It probably would have been a lot better off. They would at least, they were human. They would at least think about you a little bit. They would have they may have talked to me a little bit. Amazon, for somebody like me, made lending way too easy. I remember the first loan, the offer was for $1,000. I was doing about $500 a day in sales on Amazon lending. I really didn't need the money. But I asked around and everybody's like, well, it's good for growth. The Robert Kiyosaki philosophy, it's good for growth. If you want to grow, it'll help you grow. And that's only the first loan. That's, they'll offer you bigger and bigger loans as time goes on. My biggest loan offer was for $680,000. Looking back, what's the most scary about that size loan is that it was 4 mouse clicks to have that money deposited into my checking account. That's what was scary. So I convinced myself that I needed to take this Amazon loan, even though I thought the rate was high. I think the rate was 18%. I said I would park the money and just kind of establish credit with Amazon. Well, I made 2 or 3 payments and they offered me a bigger loan. And I was like, oh, see, this works. Okay. So I took the bigger loan. And we're going to talk about interest on loans and all that eventually. But right now, I just want to tell you the story of how I got into these bigger loans. The third loan came just as I was going to ASD. It was for approximately $10,000. And I was like, I am sure this is my first trip to ASD in Las Vegas, guys. I'm like, I am sure I'm going to find product that I can buy at ASD and make more money. The logic in my head was to make more money than the interest was on the loan. Now, I don't understand the time of inventory and all this stuff at this point in my life. I just know I could take this loan, 10 grand, and I can go hog wild in ASD with new products. And I had some ideas for products. I had set up 2 meetings at ASD with vendors. I mean, I was gung ho. So I went to ASD. I spent the 10 grand. I spent more than 10 grand. I spent money on credit cards. I spent a lot of money that year at ASD. I think, if I remember, I spent about $16,000 in 3 days. When I say I went over the top, I went over the top. Now, we'll go through the loans, and each time the loans got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I didn't fully understand how loans worked. And a lot of people don't fully understand how loans and refinancing loans and all that really work. I do now, and I calculate every which way before I finance or refinance a loan. Now, I've refinanced this loan numerous times to bring the payment down, but we'll get into that as well. Here's where people get stuck. You get into these loans and you forget that the heavy interest, the big interest, is up front. So you make, now with Amazon lending, there's only 12 payments. So a lot of interest is paid the first, second, and third payments of these loans. So you make these big, huge interest payments and you don't pay a whole lot on the principal. And then they offer you a refinance loan, which you think is great because you get a breathing period. You don't make a payment for 30 days. That was the next trick I learned. But the interest was front loaded. So you were paying, man, Amazon was raking in the money on me. I would pay all the interest on the first 3 payments and then refinance and start all over again, give them all my profit again, and then find the need to refinance. Now, don't get me wrong. Amazon lending also helped my business. I would never be able to grow this big without Amazon lending. I got in some doors with some manufacturers, with companies, with some very big PO orders that I gave them, being able to finance it, these large orders with Amazon lending. So about 2016, my first year, I'm going to hit $1 million in sales. My accountant comes to me and says, man, this company's on the verge of bankruptcy. When we ran the numbers, all the profit from the company, besides, I mean, including, and I was taking money as a salary then, still got to eat. And I ate good, guys. I got a big belly. I ate good. All the profit went directly to pay Amazon. Amazon got profit in fees. Amazon got money in pay-per-click, and Amazon got money for my interest on my loans. If he said if we didn't turn this company around, it would last probably about a year, and then I'd be bankrupt, and I would be owing Amazon hundreds of thousands of dollars because I'd be out of business, and I'd still have the loan payments. So we went to work. The first thing I did was I went to work on understanding how the loan worked. Well, the loan works, the interest is all up front. Amazon's getting their money, their profit up front. Once I understood that, I had to look at things a little differently. Now, my payments at that time were running, guys, I hope you're sitting down because these numbers are big. My payment at the time was running, I'm going to say it was running in the neighborhood of $43,000 a month was going to Amazon for the loan. Amazon is not stupid. These loans are 12 months. If you have an Amazon loan and you got out of it, you'll know what I'm talking about. About month 5 or 6, you start to have a cash flow problem. What do I mean by cash flow problem? Here's what happens is that you're giving so much money to Amazon on these loans that you don't have the money to buy the inventory to keep the sales going to give Amazon the loan. It was put towards growth. You know, this money went to growth. Now, this is when I also started learning a lot about Dave Ramsey. I also was learning about Robert Kiyosaki at the time. He has a board game he came out with. It's online. I don't know the name of it. I'm sorry. I think it's called Rat Race or something similar to that. I played that game a few times online. It really helped me understand money a lot better. Assets and payables and all these different terms that the accountants use. It really helped me. I did a lot of studying. So what I started doing was I would stretch the loan out as far as I possibly could. I would make as many payments as I possibly could, knowing that Amazon was going to loan me more money. Then I would take the smallest refinance loan I could. Now, Amazon was also smart about this. You could never just refinance what you owed them. If I owed them $400,000, the smallest loan I could take was like $430,000. So you always had to borrow more than you owed them. So I was never able to just do a straight refinance. And again, I would pay a lot of interest, man. As Dave says, stupid tax. I paid a lot of stupid tax to Amazon. A lot. I'm embarrassed about the amount of money that I've paid to Amazon lending. I worked like a dog. Cash flow board game, Sue says. It really helped me, guys, to understand what my accountant was telling me. I didn't understand all this stuff, guys. I said all along, just sell more. I got money problems, sell more. I was adamant that was the answer. It took me a long time to get to the point where I was starting to get the loan turned around. Then I looked at things and said, well, there's only one way to get out of this loan. There's only one way to pay off this loan. I have to be ahead. I have to get my cash flow ahead 60 days. I have to get ahead of the loan Now we had paid the loan down. I'm talking about we went from a high of $443,000 I owed Amazon when I signed the loan, um, with an interest of close to $1,000 a day, to I was down to probably about 175 at this time. My accountant and I sat down for about 5 hours, and I said, I want to borrow enough money that I am 60 days ahead in my cash flow cycle. And he told me I was nuts, that I would never get out of debt that way. And I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. And this is the only way it can be done. I have to be 60 days ahead in the cash flow. What I was seeing was that you would get to month 5, month 6, and you were starved for cash. Starved. So you couldn't get to month 12 to pay off the loan. You just couldn't do it. There was no physical way possible to do it without your sales dropping so low that you couldn't make the payments. That was the catch. The payments were always the same month after month. I mean, when they were $43,000 a month, it was month after month. They didn't go down as the loan got closer to being paid off. So I borrowed enough cash that I was able to take a chunk of cash and put it aside. And Dave Ramsey would have freaked on what I did here, guys. He would have flipped out. I took a chunk of cash and set it off to the side and said, that's my cash reserve. That's my emergency fund. I funded my emergency fund with borrowed money for the business. This is where I'm at right now. So what I did was I was able to work through the loan a lot further with that cash flow. Two things happened that really, I'd have had the loan paid off already, guys. My plan was working, and I don't recommend it. It was a Hail Mary pass that worked. Everybody advised against me doing that. Two things came up that really put the screws to me trying to pay off that loan. And that's really where I learned that I got to get out from under this loan no matter what. The first was California. The state of California came after me for sales tax. I know everybody knows, anybody in this room right now knows about California coming after people for back sales tax. I hired a tax attorney. My accountant, we sat down, and the tax attorney said, yeah, I think I can win this. I think I can win this, but my suggestion is to settle with them, because it's going to cost more in attorney fees and court fees and accounting fees than what they're demanding from you. So I settled with California for $72,000 in back sales tax. It was stolen money as far as I'm concerned. If you ever hear me get extremely negative about the state of California, saying that I don't care if we push it out into the Pacific Ocean and use it for a freaking target, you'll understand why. Once I made the agreement, they didn't care about me as a person. They didn't care if I lost my business, my house, or anything else. That's when I was at my worst, guys. It was a Thursday, and I said, if Amazon doesn't offer me a loan, I can't make payroll tomorrow. Nobody's going to get paid. Thank God, Amazon did not offer me a loan. American Express offered me it, by the grace of God, and there's no place else, and I don't care what anybody says about religion. By the grace of God and by the grace of God only, American Express offered me a $25,000 personal loan. I don't know why. It's the only one I've ever had from them. Um, of course, I instantly took it. I didn't even look at the interest rate. I made payroll that week. I made my last payment to the state of California. I made a payment to Amazon, and I made payroll that week by the grace of God alone. Listen, that didn't get me out of trouble. Uh, I had to refinance. I've refinanced that Amazon loan probably 5 times since then. The last 2 times have strictly been from a cash flow perspective, and it's nothing more than leveraging some of my inventory that I own. I am in a much better position. My payments are very reasonable for my company. I can afford them. The second thing that happened was the pandemic, as we all know. I would have had the loan paid off if it wasn't for the pandemic and my fears of the new administration. I don't want to make this political, guys, but in October, I made the decision to not pay off the loan, that I would refinance the loan and sit on the cash that I had that I was going to use to pay off the loan. I didn't trust politics. I didn't trust our government. And honestly, I didn't trust either men running for presidency to leave my money alone. I had a right to be fearful after what happened with California. The whole story with California was originally the deal was that I was going to pay them 12 monthly payments, $6,000 a month for 12 months with no penalties. Once they had my checking account number, they said, no, we will do it in 6 payments. The payment went from $6,000 a month to $12,000 a month. That's why it almost wiped me out. So I had a reason to be fearful of the government. They've already screwed me once. I don't care if it's the federal government, state government, or whatever it was. They stuck their hands in my checking account and took all the money. They didn't care if I made payroll or not. So I made a decision to refinance the loan. Otherwise, it would have been paid off by now. The loan I took, the interest was $6,000 over 9 months. It cost me $6,000 to take the loan for 9 months. And I said, to ensure my business stay in operation and that my loyal employees will be paid through this pandemic, I was willing to take a $6,000 hit on my profit. Was it the smartest thing to do? Probably not, but it was the least amount of stress that I could have. Guys, if you're going to borrow against your business, you better know what you're doing. I didn't. It's only by the grace of God and some lucky payouts that I was able to make it this far. I always give credit to God for my business and where my success is at. And the reason I do that is because if it was left to me, I'd have blown this company years ago. I always have said I'm not that smart in business. I'm good at sales. That's what I'm good at. That was always my answer. If we needed more money, make more sales. Put more stuff up to sell. Buy more. We need money to make payroll. Buy more stuff to sell. That was my answer to everything until I learned about money. Dave Ramsey helped me with that. So, I have a love-hate relationship with him. Robert Kiyosaki with the leverage. If it wasn't for him with the leverage and get rich from leveraging, I wouldn't understand where I'm at with my loans right now. The only debt that I have on this business, and I just went over my 30 minutes, and I really didn't want to today, but this is important. The only debt I have right now is an Amazon loan and my EIDL loan, which I took during the pandemic. I was able to get $15,000 on an EIDL loan. The EIDL loan money is sitting in a separate checking account. I have not touched a penny of it since I got the loan. I did need the loan when I got it. I used it, and I put the money back. It's sitting in an account. I can't even make a payment until February. I got a PPP loan to help with my payroll. We paid the PPP loan back in November. I paid it back. They forgave some of it because I reduced my labor cost. I did not cheat. I did not bonus anybody. I did not do anything except for make payroll every week with the money like they said I could for 8 weeks. Whatever was left, I have paid back in full 100%. And I have the Amazon loan. That is the only debt against my company. And I believe if I wanted to, with this payout that I get tomorrow, I could pay Amazon off in full and still have enough left to operate. So my business is in much better shape. And I'm going to tell you it's because of two things. Listening to Dave Ramsey, listening to Robert Kiyosaki, and sitting down with my accountant so that I fully understood what was going on in my business for me. Not for you, not for anybody else. I understood leverage from Robert Kiyosaki. I understood having to be debt-free from Dave Ramsey. I don't know that I need to be at a zero debt with the business. Very few businesses operate on zero debt. Okay. I believe very few businesses operate on zero debt. I believe they use what most people. I'm going to go on a couple more minutes and I'm getting out of here, guys. 2 minutes. That's it. There's a difference between debt, consumer debt, and leverage in business. There is definitely a difference. When I carried credit card debt for the business, it was debt. It was a bad thing. I should have waited to buy some things for the business until I was able to afford it. At one time, I had 3 Infinities. I did not need to be driving a Pinto, let alone having 3 Infinities with over almost $3,000 a month in payments. I think it was like $2,800 a month in car payments. What an idiot I was. And leverage, where you're borrowing money against things like your inventory. Right now, I am leveraged. If Amazon said, no more loan, if I sell through my inventory, that loan is paid for. There is a positive in my cash flow statement, even with the loan. My loan payment right now is under $20,000 a month. I know that freaks some of you out, but when I was making $43,000 a month, 20 grand is a freaking drop in the bucket. So in the end, what I'm telling you is it's not wrong to take a loan if you know what the hell you're doing. Don't do like I did. I screwed up so freaking bad. It really built my faith in God to make it through some of those payrolls that I had to make, but I did it. So here's what I got to go. I got to go on this, guys. I got to get my side by side. I got to get out in that desert, and I got to really rip it up today. I need a little bit of head clearing. Remember, get off your ass, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. God loves you. Lord knows I'm trying.